There comes a time in every person's life when the world grows quiet and the soul asks a question: is this all there is? And for many, that moment arrives, not in the youth of their 20s, nor the ambition of their 30s, but in the solemn hour of middle age, after 45. And let me tell you this, those who thrive after 45 have discovered a profound truth. They know that life does not end at 45. It begins anew. You see, youth is full of speed and noise, but wisdom is quiet. It whispers, and those who listen prosper. After 45, you are no longer chasing shadows. You are crafting legacies. The thrill is no longer in applause, but in purpose. Let the young chase success. You build significance. Let them run. You walk with direction. Let them search. You know the way. Those who thrive after 45 possess 6 keys, 6 truths that once grasped will open the door to a richer, more fulfilled life. Listen to them, master them, and you will become unstoppable. Definite purpose, reignited. There comes a point in every life where the chase loses its thrill, not because the dream has died, but because the dream must evolve. After 45, many people feel an invisible shift. The goals that once lit them on fire now feel hollow. The urgency to climb the corporate ladder, to impress the world, to prove something. These things begin to lose their grip. And for those who thrive, this moment is not a crisis. It is an invitation. It is the call to rediscover purpose, not the kind handed to you by society, but the one born from within. Definite purpose, as Napoleon Hill taught, is the cornerstone of achievement. But at midlife, that purpose must often be reignited, because the fire that drove you at 25 cannot be the same that fuels your journey at 50. At 25, purpose is often about identity, who you are, what you can achieve, how high you can climb. But after 45, it becomes about meaning, what impact you can make, what legacy you will leave, what difference your life will represent. Reigniting your definite purpose requires stillness. It demands you step back from the noise, the endless to-do list, the roles you've been playing, and ask yourself a deeper question. What am I here for now? Not what you were here for a decade ago, not what others expect of you, but what your soul whispers when everything else goes quiet. Those who thrive in this new season are those who listen to that whisper. They begin to see their accumulated experience, not as a burden of the past, but as fuel for the future. They realize that the setbacks, the scars, the successes, they've all been shaping something, and now it's time to use it. Reigniting purpose doesn't always mean changing everything. It can start as simply as recognizing that your current path needs deeper roots, or it might mean a bold pivot, a new career, a new mission, a new way to serve. But the key is this: purpose, once rediscovered, becomes a force that transcends age. It infuses your days with urgency again, not the frantic urgency of youth, but the focused urgency of wisdom. With definite purpose, you begin to wake up differently. You're no longer sleepwalking through your routine. You see connections where others see chaos. You're no longer distracted by trivial pursuits, because your heart has found its compass again. This kind of purpose turns ordinary days into significant ones. It transforms challenges into fuel. It invites synchronicity, clarity, and momentum. The truth is, most people drift through life, but the few who thrive after 45 do not drift. They decide. They revisit their deepest values. They reflect with courage, and they recommit to something bigger than comfort or routine. Sometimes it's mentoring the next generation. Sometimes it's writing the book they always meant to. Sometimes it's simply becoming the kind of person who lives by principle, not pressure. No one can give you your purpose, but once you reconnect with it, no one can take it from you. And when that happens, when you remember who you really are and what you're really here to do, you don't just age, you ascend. You become a force of clarity in a world of confusion. And that, more than anything else, is the secret of those who thrive. They do not fade quietly into the second half of life. They reignite, they reimagine, and they rise. Mastery of the mind. Mastery of the mind is not a gift reserved for the elite or the chosen few. It is a skill sharpened by choice, carved by discipline, and refined by time. And for those who thrive after 45, it becomes the ultimate advantage. At this stage of life, the body may shift, the world may change, but the one constant you can command is your mind. The question is not whether the mind can be mastered, it is whether you will choose to master it. Most people are prisoners of their own thoughts. They wake up reacting to circumstances, pulled in 1,000 directions by fear, regret, distraction, and anxiety. Their minds are full but undirected, and yet every success, every reinvention, every breakthrough begins not with action, but with thought. Those who thrive after 45 have come to understand this truth. If you control your mind, you control your life. Everything else is secondary. Mastering the mind means understanding that your thoughts are not random. They are shaped by what you feed them. Your input becomes your internal world. If you feed your mind fear, you will live with hesitation. If you feed it doubt, you will shrink from opportunity. But if you begin to consciously feed it clarity, purpose, gratitude, and belief, your life will begin to bend in that direction. The mind is like a garden. Left untended, weeds grow, but when you tend it with intention, it blooms with strength. This stage of life gives you a remarkable opportunity. You've lived long enough to witness patterns. You've seen what works and what doesn't. You've experienced pain and triumph, and now you can choose to become the architect of your mental state. You can train your focus like a laser. You can interrupt negative cycles before they spiral. You can refuse to let old stories define your new chapters. Thriving minds don't dwell on the past. They extract lessons from it and move forward. They don't fear the future. They create it. They replace the question, "What if I fail?" with "What must I become to succeed?" They recognize that the most important conversations they will ever have are the ones they have with themselves. Mastery of the mind also means learning to detach from what you cannot control. The opinions of others, the economy, the passage of time, these are beyond your reach, but your response to these things is not. And in that response lies your power. Emotional discipline, resilience, and clarity come not from avoiding difficulty, but from choosing your mental state regardless of it. Those who thrive don't wait to feel motivated. They act, and motivation follows. They don't expect constant happiness. They build a foundation of inner peace. They've learned to silence the critic in their head and replace it with the voice of a coach, a mentor, a builder. They understand that every day is a new opportunity to train the mind to serve them, not sabotage them. You cannot afford to go another year, another month, or even another day as a slave to old patterns. You've come too far. Your mind is your most powerful tool, your greatest ally, and your fiercest protector. If you take the wheel, the most successful people in their later years are not the ones with the most resources, the most fame, or even the best health. They are the ones with the strongest mental framework. This is not about positive thinking for the sake of illusion. It's about intentional thinking, choosing the thoughts that serve your goals, your purpose, your peace. It's about building a mindset that can weather storms and still move forward. Because when you master the mind, you are no longer pushed by fear, you are pulled by vision. And that is the true essence of thriving, not just after 45, but for the rest of your life. Health is the new wealth. At some point in life, a profound shift occurs. You begin to realize that the most valuable currency you possess is not money, fame, or status. It is energy. It is your ability to wake up with vitality, to move through the day with strength, and to live each moment with clarity and joy. After 45, this truth becomes impossible to ignore. Health is the new wealth. In your earlier years, you may have traded sleep for ambition, skipped meals for meetings, ignored warning signs in pursuit of deadlines, and for a while you may have gotten away with it. But eventually, the bill comes due. The body, which once tolerated neglect, begins to protest. Energy levels drop. Recovery takes longer. Silent issues begin to surface. And in that moment, many are forced to make a choice, continue to decline, or take back control. Those who thrive after 45 make the conscious decision to treat their health not as a side project, but as their foundation. They realize that everything they want to experience, freedom, purpose, love, impact, depends on their ability to show up fully and consistently. Health becomes the engine, not the afterthought. But this is not about six-pack abs or running marathons, unless that's your goal. It's about alignment. It's about respecting the body as the vessel of your dreams. It's about waking up each day and feeling alive, not just alive in the technical sense, but energized, capable, and clear. Without that, all the success in the world means very little. Thriving individuals begin by prioritizing the basics, not because they're easy, but because they are non-negotiable. Sleep becomes sacred. Nutrition becomes fuel, not entertainment. Movement becomes medicine. And perhaps most importantly, stress management becomes a daily discipline. These are not luxuries. They are investments in longevity and quality of life. The truth is, it's not age that makes people old. It's neglect. You can be 50 and full of life, or 35 and already deteriorating. The difference lies in how you care for the machine that carries you through life. And the body is not separate from the mind. Physical health boosts mental clarity, emotional stability, and even spiritual connection. The sharper your body, the sharper your decisions. In the second half of life, energy becomes your most precious asset. Not time, not money, energy. Because with sustained energy, you can still create, contribute, build, explore, and love. You can reinvent yourself. You can start a business, write a book, travel the world, or mentor others. But without health, your options shrink, and so do your dreams. What those who thrive understand is that health is not just about adding years to life. It's about adding life to years. It's about quality. It's about present. It's about being there for the moments that matter, fully engaged, fully alive. They take the long view. They make daily decisions that support their future selves. They say no to short-term pleasure if it robs them of long-term strength, and it's never too late. The body is miraculous in its ability to heal, adapt, and respond. Even small changes yield massive returns over time. The goal is not perfection. It's progression. It's moving in the right direction with consistency and care. Every walk, every clean meal, every early night, every moment of deep breathing, it all adds up. And over time, it becomes who you are. So as the world continues to chase external wealth, choose to invest in the kind that can't be taken from you. Choose to become rich in vitality, in mobility, in clarity, and in peace. Choose to thrive, not in spite of your age, but because you've learned what truly matters. Because at the end of the day, it won't be your bank account that determines your freedom. It will be your health. And that indeed is the new wealth, the power of controlled focus. In a world saturated with noise, distraction has become the default. Notifications, obligations, social media, endless news cycles, each one clawing at your attention, fragmenting your mind, and scattering your energy. For most, this constant state of divided focus becomes normal. But those who thrive after 45 have discovered a deeper truth. Success at this stage is not about doing more. It's about focusing better. Controlled focus is the gateway to clarity, performance, peace, and impact. Focus is not simply about productivity. It is about direction. It is about choosing, with intention, what gets your time, your energy, your thoughts, and what does not. It is the ability to say, this is where I'm going, and everything else is noise. And once you develop that kind of mental discipline, you become unstoppable. People who thrive in the second half of life are not distracted by every shiny object. They've already spent years chasing other people's expectations, fighting for approval, collecting titles, or chasing goals that weren't truly their own. Now they operate differently. They're not interested in being busy. They're interested in being effective. They don't ask, what can I do today? They ask, what matters today? Controlled focus begins with clarity of purpose. When you know what you're here to do, at this stage of your life, you stop scattering your energy. You stop pouring effort into things that don't feed your mission or bring you peace. Whether it's building a meaningful business, creating art, mentoring others, improving your health, or spending time with those you love, every action becomes aligned with that purpose. Focus becomes a filter. This kind of focus isn't born overnight. It requires discipline. It means setting boundaries, guarding your mornings, limiting distractions, saying no without guilt. It means removing digital clutter, streamlining your commitments, and spending time with people who nourish your focus, not drain it. It means learning to sit with one task until it's complete, resisting the urge to bounce from one thing to another in a frenzy of false productivity. More than anything, controlled focus is about presence. It's about being where you are. When you speak with someone, you're fully there. When you work, you're immersed. When you rest deeply. You're no longer living in a constant tug-of-war between the past, the future, and a dozen browser tabs open in your mind. Presence becomes your superpower. People who master controlled focus are more creative. They finish what they start. They experience less anxiety because their mental energy isn't leaking in 10 directions. They build trust because others can feel their presence. They make better decisions because their mind is clear, not cluttered. They feel more peace because they're not trying to be everywhere, for everyone, all the time. And here's the paradox. When you do less with more focus, you accomplish more with less effort. This is what separates those who thrive from those who simply survive. It's not about time management. It's about attention management. Your attention is the most valuable thing you possess, and every day, you either give it away unconsciously or protect it with intention. If your life feels scattered, chaotic, or unfulfilling, look first to your focus. Ask yourself where your energy is going, and whether those places truly deserve it. Ask yourself what distractions you've allowed to hijack your clarity. Then begin the work of reclaiming it. Not all at once, but one decision, one habit, one boundary at a time. Controlled focus is freedom. It frees you from burnout. It frees you from comparison. It frees you from the illusion that doing everything means doing anything well. Focused energy compounds. It builds legacy. And after 45, when time feels more precious and purpose becomes more urgent, it is focus that becomes the force multiplier for everything you want to create, experience, and become. The mastermind principle. No one rises alone. Behind every great achievement is a web of minds working in harmony, challenging each other, supporting each other, and pushing each other toward higher ground. This is the essence of the mastermind principle, an idea as powerful today as it was when first articulated. And for those who thrive after 45, this principle is not optional. It becomes the strategy for continued growth, contribution, and reinvention. In the first half of life, many strive to prove themselves. The instinct is often to go it alone, to be self-made, to carry the burden without asking for help. But as experience deepens, wisdom begins to take root. You realize that self-reliance has its limits, and that collaboration, not isolation, is the path to exponential growth. The mastermind principle teaches us that when two or more minds unite in harmony for a common goal, a third, invisible force is created, a new intelligence, a greater power, a synergy that cannot be achieved alone. Those who thrive after 45 understand this principle intuitively. They are no longer interested in being the smartest person in the room. They seek out rooms where they can be challenged, expanded, and elevated. They look for conversations that nourish the soul, not just stroke the ego. They surround themselves with people who inspire action, not just talk. The power of the mastermind is not in numbers, but in alignment. It's not about gathering a crowd. It's about assembling the right circle. Your mastermind group might be formal, a regular gathering of peers committed to mutual growth, or it might be informal, a collection of trusted allies, mentors, collaborators, and confidants. What matters is not the format, but the function, shared values, open communication, and a deep commitment to each other's progress. When you align yourself with the right people, everything changes. Ideas flow faster. Problems are solved more creatively. Accountability becomes natural. Limiting beliefs get challenged. You're no longer carrying the full weight of your goals. You're lifted by the strength of others who want to see you win. The best mastermind alliances are built on honesty and trust. There's no room for pretense. There's no need to impress. What matters is the truth and the willingness to speak it in service of growth. In a true mastermind, your blind spots are gently revealed. Your strengths are amplified. Your vision is refined. You leave every encounter sharper than you entered, and the benefit goes both ways. As you grow, you also give. Your insights, your experiences, your perspective become fuel for someone else's fire. In helping others succeed, your own journey gains depth and meaning. That's the magic of it. The mastermind principle multiplies not just success, but significance. After 45, when you're less interested in surface-level relationships and more drawn to depth and purpose, the value of a mastermind is even greater. It becomes a source of energy, a compass, a reality check, and a sounding board. It keeps you from drifting. It accelerates momentum. It protects your purpose from the distractions and doubts of everyday life. If you find yourself feeling stuck, isolated, or uncertain at this stage of your life, ask yourself, who is in my circle? Who speaks into my future? Who sharpens me? And who do I sharpen in return? Don't wait for the perfect group to find you. Start by reaching out to one or two people who share your values, your drive, and your hunger for growth. Begin the conversation. Create the space. Set the intention. Whether it's weekly calls, monthly meetups, or ongoing connection, the structure matters less than the commitment. Greatness is rarely a solo act, and after 45, when wisdom has been earned and time feels more precious, the mastermind principle becomes more than a strategy. It becomes a lifeline. Because together, we go further. Together, we rise. The courage to reinvent. There comes a moment in life when you stand at a quiet crossroads. The path behind you is filled with choices, wins, losses, and lessons. But the path ahead is unclear. Something inside you begins to stir. A whisper that says you are meant for something more, something different, something next. And in that moment, reinvention begins. Not as a sudden act, but as a courageous decision to become who you were always meant to be. For those who thrive after 45, this courage to reinvent becomes not only essential, it becomes transformational. Reinvention is not a rejection of who you were. It's an evolution. It's the deep inner knowing that the person you've been is not the final version of you. It's the willingness to step into uncertainty with purpose and power. Many people reach midlife and cling tightly to their past identities, the job title, the role, the reputation. But those who thrive are the ones who choose to let go of what no longer fits. They understand that staying stuck in something safe can be far more dangerous than the risk of change. Reinvention requires courage because it threatens the ego. It asks you to leave behind familiar comfort zones and walk into rooms where you may be a beginner again. It means admitting that success in one chapter doesn't guarantee satisfaction in the next. It means daring to answer questions like, what do I truly want now? What have I been afraid to pursue? What must I leave behind to move forward? The people who rise in the second half of life are not the ones who have everything figured out. They are the ones who are willing to unlearn, relearn, and rebuild. They choose growth over familiarity. They are not afraid to go back to the drawing board, to start something new, to rewrite the script. Whether it's launching a business, writing a book, pursuing a passion, or deepening their purpose, they choose to become active creators of their future, not passive observers of their past. This process is not easy. Reinvention comes with resistance. There will be doubt. There will be fear. There will be voices, internal and external, telling you that it's too late, too risky, too unrealistic. But those voices are not truth. They are echoes of limitation, and those who rise learn to silence them with action. With each step forward, the fear shrinks. With each new habit, new decision, and new commitment, the path becomes clearer. Reinvention is not always dramatic. Sometimes it starts small, a shift in mindset, a new morning routine, a choice to say yes to what excites you and no to what drains you. Over time, those small steps create massive momentum. They redefine identity. They expand what's possible, and they lead to a life that feels aligned, not just achieved. The courage to reinvent also means honoring the wisdom of your journey. You are not starting from scratch. You are starting from experience. Everything you've lived through, the successes, the failures, the pain, the triumphs, has prepared you for this next chapter. You are not behind. You are right on time. There's power in realizing that the best part of your story may still be unwritten, that you are not too old, too late, or too far gone to become something greater, that the fire within you was not meant to fade, but to transform. Reinvention is not a detour. It is the path forward, for those brave enough to believe there's more within them. So take the leap. Redefine what success means. Release what no longer serves. Embrace the blank page with boldness, because the second half of life is not about decline, it's about design. And the courage to reinvent is the key that unlocks the most powerful version of you yet.